Who gets the children in the marriage after the marriage has ended? Who gets the custody of the children when the parents divorced? That is what we are going to discuss today in our special edition on Court TV. I still remain your host, Triple A, on Court TV Nigeria. You know, when a marriage ends, one of the biggest questions is who should be in the custody of the children? Is it the mother by default or the father? Or what are the factors that the court put into consideration before granting the custody of the child or the custody of the children in the marriage? But before we proceed, let's look at what custody is all about. Custody in this aspect does not mean who the child or who the children are staying with. Custody in this aspect is all about decision making. Who has the right in the decision making and who has the responsibility of the children. We are not talking about who the child is living with. But in our society today, the most controversial issue with respect to the knowledge of the people about custody of the child is who is having the physical presence of the children. But in law, we are not looking at the physical presence of the children. We are looking about who takes decision with respect of those children. Who has the responsibility of those children? Who is taking, before we now talk about who is taking the physical custody, who is taking the physical possession of the children. So now, when we are looking at the custody of the children, we are not looking at the physical. We are not looking at who the children is staying with, but we are looking at who is responsible in taking a decision that is affecting the children. Who is responsible for the welfare of the children. So that is what custody is all about. So, before we proceed, we shall be looking at the type of custody. We'll be looking at the type of custody. And in this edition, we are going to look at 4 types of custodies. 4 types of custodies. One is sole custody. Sole custody. Second, we are looking at legal custody. Second, we are looking at what? Legal custody. Third, we'll be looking at the physical custody. Third, we are looking at what? Physical custody. And the fourth, we'll be looking at the joint custody. Now, sole custody is when one person is having the custody, is the one that is taking the decision with respect of the child, is the one that has the right in decision making, and is the one that is having the responsibility of taking care of the children in the marriage. That is sole custody. It's also be referred to as sole parenting. It's also referred to as what? Sole parenting, sole custody. When a particular parent, either the mother or the father, is given the right to solemnly take decision, to solemnly take responsibility with respect of the welfare of the said child or the children in the marriage. Why this physical custody is all about taking decision of where the child or the children in the marriage will live physically. That is, when you are granted the physical custody, it means that it is you alone that will decide where the child or the children in the marriage will live physically. That is what physical custody. Now, if you are talking about the joint custody, joint custody is when both parents will determine or take decision that will affect the children in the marriage. It means that both parents has joint custody of the child, of the children in the marriage. If it is joint custody, they are the one that will determine where the children will live. They are the one that will take decision with respect to the welfare of the children. They are the one that will jointly take responsibility with respect of the welfare of the children, their school fee, their accommodation, the entire well-being of the children. The decision making with respect of the welfare of the children will be made jointly. That is what joint custody is all about. Then the last one is the legal custody. The legal custody gives the parent the major right in making decision with respect to the education of the child or the children in the marriage, the health and the well-being of the children in the marriage. That is the legal custody. Then the law will empower the person legally. That person might not be the parent in the marriage. It might not be either of the parents. It might not be the mother. It might not be the father. But the legal custody might be someone else different from the parent of the children in the marriage. So, in granting custody before the court can grant sole custody, joint custody, physical custody, and legal custody. These are the four types of custody with respect to the custody of child or children in the marriage. So, we are going to look at how courts decide custody in Nigeria. How Nigeria court decide the custody of the children in the marriage after the marriage has been terminated by the parents. So the question is that who actually has the custody of the children? Is it always the mother or the father? The answer is it depends. It depends on the factors that the court will consider. Because one of the major factors that the court will consider before granting custody of the children in Nigeria is the interest of the children in the marriage. The first thing that the court will consider is the interest of the children in the marriage. The utmost interest of the children in the marriage is one of the major factors that the court will consider in Nigeria before granting the custody of the children in the marriage. So, as I said earlier, that one of the major factors that the court consider is the best interest of the child. That doesn't mean that there is no any other factors that the court considers. So there are various factors that the court will consider before granting the custody of the child or the children in the marriage to either of the parents. But one of the major factors that I said earlier, the emphasis is the best interest of the child or of the children in the marriage. That is one of the first factors and is the major factor. Then the second one is the age of the children in the marriage. The age of the children in the marriage is one of the factors that the court will consider before deciding who the custody of the child or the children in the marriage will be granted to. Like if the child is between the age of 2 to 7 to 10 years, the likelihood of the court granting the custody to the mother is high comparing to the father. So the age of the children or the age of the child is one of the determinable factors that will influence the decision of the court with respect of who to grant the custody to when the marriage has been terminated by the parents of the children in the marriage. So another factor that the court will consider is parental stability. So another factor that the court will consider after the best interest of the child or the children in the marriage and the age of the children or the age of the child in the marriage is parental stability. Who is more stable? Who has a good job? Who has a home? Who has the financial capacity to take care of the child or the children in the marriage? As I said earlier, we are looking at the best interest of the child or the children in the marriage. So they will look at the parent that is more stable, the parent that is accessible to the children, the parent that has a home, that has a dwelling place, the parent that has a good job, that can take care of the children, that have been able to pay for their school fee, that will be able to pay for their medical bill, that have been able to be around to checkmate the welfare of the children, is another factor that the court will consider before granting custody to either of the parents in the marriage. Then, another factor that the court will consider is parental involvement. Parental involvement. Who has been active in raising the children? Who has been active in providing both emotional and financial support to the children? Despite the fact that the two parents are the one that give birth to the children, there are one among them that is providing the emotional support to the children, who is always around, that is taking care of the emotional responsibility of the children. So they are looking at the parent that is more involving in this aspect. You understand? So they are looking at the emotional, when the children is sick, when the children is communicating, when the children is around, who do they likely to stay with? When the both parents are around and it happens that something happened to the baby, who is the person, or to the children in the marriage, who is the person that give the emotional attention to those children? Who is the person that the child or the children in the marriage can quickly run to and report the situation to? Who is the person that understands the emotional welfare of the children in the marriage? Is one of the factors that the court will consider before determining who the court will grant the custody to in the marriage. Then the final one that the court will consider is the wishes of the child or the wish of the children in the marriage. One certain time I was telling someone that sometimes if the court requests to see the children in the marriage, the decision of the children, the wishes of the children in the marriage might affect the decision. If the children are older enough, their opinion with respect of who they want to stay with might be influenced by the court in deciding who the custody should be granted to. So, the wish of the children is one of the determinable factors that the court will consider before granting the custody of the child or children in the marriage after the termination of the marriage between the parents in the marriage. So, while mother usually have the custody of the children of the young children in the marriage, fathers can also be granted custody when they have proven that they are the better parent for the custody to be granted to. So it is both sides. So it depends on the proving on he who has the capacity for that will take care of the welfare, who has the capacity that will give the best interest, who has the capacity that will meet with the best interest of the children in the marriage. These are the things that the court will consider before granting custody of the children in the marriage. So what we are going to consider now is that, can men win in custody battle? When there is a custody battle, especially in court, the mother did not accept, the father did not accept. The question is, can men win this battle against the women? So there is a common belief that court usually favor mothers when it comes to custody case. That court usually favor women when the issue of custody is before the court. But that is not usually the case. Sometimes court grant custody to men, court grant custody to the father of the children in the marriage when he is able to prove that he is the better person for the custody to be granted to. He is the better person that has the facility, that has the financial capacity to take care of the children. He is a better person that usually attend to the emotional, that usually give emotional support to the children when the parents were together. He is the one that has the home. He is the one that can take care of the welfare of the children. He is the one that can stand for the best interest of the child or children in the marriage. In that situation, if he will be able to prove before the court will grant the said father, or the court will grant the father of the children in the marriage the custody of the children in the marriage. So it is not always the women, it is not always the mothers that the court will grant custody to. Finally, before we wrap up this program, we are looking into who always have the custody of the children in the marriage. So the best solution for battle, for conflict, the best solution to resolve the issue of custody in marriage after the termination of the marriage is co-parenting. So the parents should understand that the welfare of the children is the most important when considering about the custody. So if the parent could be mature enough, if the parents could have the understanding to keep the communication flow, if the parent will have the mutual understanding that yes, there is a connection in this marriage, there is a bond that has joined both of them together, which is inseparable. Because when there is children in the marriage, both parents has a bond that can never be separated. So they have a bond that they can never be separated. So the children in the marriage is a bond between them. So the communication cannot be ceased with the two parents. the communication cannot be ceased from the mother, the communication cannot be ceased from the father, because the children is the middle person between them. So whoever that has the custody, whoever that is having the physical custody of the children, should have that mindset that he will grant access to the other person who does not have the physical custody. As I said, the custody is involving decision making and the responsibility for the children in the marriage. So if they have this mature mind for the welfare of the children, they should agree to co-parenting. They should agree to joint custody, where both parents will be responsible for the welfare of the children, where both parents will be responsible for the caring, for the emotional support, for the financial support, for the home and the well-being of the children. Because the most important thing in this custody of the children is to give the children a better life, is to give the children a better being, is to give the children a better attention, and is to have a good welfare for the children. So we in this station, we are recommending co-parenting for the parents when it comes to issue of the custody of the children in the marriage. So if you enjoy this program, please share this program to your contacts on other social media, and don't hesitate to what to comment and share your opinion with respect to this issue that we have treated. I still remain your host, Triple A, on Court TV. Usually make a date with us and always follow us on all our social media platform. We are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, and we are also on Instagram and TikTok. Please encourage us by subscribing, by following, and by commenting on our videos, so that we will be encouraged to do more. Thank you and remain blessed. Bye.
Court TV. Explore the entertainment.